Hello and Happy New Year everybody. Today I am going to be reviewing The Swords of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. A self-published, standalone, Eastern Asian, mostly Japanese-inspired military fantasy epic. That was a mouthful. This novel explores themes of family, duty, honour, patriarchy and feminism. It's probably best to pre-warn you now that my pronunciation of some of the names is going to be absolutely awful. We follow the Matsuda family, who are descendants of a warrior clan known as the Kenzi or the Sword Saints, who have the ability to wield a powerful sword-based magic. The novel is set on a fictional peninsula, and we do follow several characters, but we mainly focus on Misaki, who is the mother of the Matsuda family. We get flashbacks to Misaki's past, which shows us that she is more than just a housewife. Misaki is constantly battling against the traditions of the Matsuda family. We also mainly follow her son Mamoru and his development as a young warrior. It's through these clashes of new way thinking against the tradition of the Matsuda family that we get a lot of the kind of tension build between the patriarch of the family and the son and his development. One of the standout elements of the Swords of Kaigen is the depth and complexity of the characters, who are all incredibly well-rounded and well thought through. The relationship between the characters, particularly the strained relationship between Mamoru and his dad, are emotionally powerful and add depth and nuance to the story. We also have richly detailed world building taking place, but never at expense of the character's development or the story being told. I also really like the fact that this does not pull its punches when it comes to the more violent aspects of the kind of fantasy and war that take place. So in essence, we are following this family and their traditions, their training, their way of life. We are also looking at the idea of the village, the town, the peninsula that all these families live on and how they live their lives, how they are the first line of defense for the empire. This is an island, a peninsula, where these warriors are bred and grown to protect the empire. But things are sort of amiss and everything's sort of building to something, which I won't go into for spoilers, and then that thing happens and then we get the fallout of that thing. So likes and dislikes, and I've already sort of talked through some of my likes, but I will repeat myself. I love the characters and I love the world building, especially Misaki, who is just fantastic. She is bloody great, and the emotional turmoil that she is, she's being pulled in many different directions throughout this book, and we really feel everything that she goes through. I loved her development and I loved where she ended up. I also loved the way the action and war was handled in this. I know I've already said it, but it really doesn't pull his punches, and moments in this novel when battles are taking place, they really hit and you really feel it, and you feel the aftermath of war, the tragedy of war as well. The pacing and the prose is also solid. Not too detailed, but flowery enough when it needs to be. My one dislike is actually something that, to start with, I really liked. And I know that sounds a bit odd, so let me explain. As you are reading this book, it is very, very evident that we are building towards something. The breadcrumbs are being dropped and we know we are leading towards an event, something big, something that is going to test this family and this town. What I found very unique, that this event, rather than happening at the end of the novel, happens in the middle of the novel, and it caught me really off guard, and I really enjoyed it for that. It then gives us time after this event to sit in the aftermath of those events, to really digest what has happened to this town after this event, this thing. However, the aftermath of this event presents loads more threads, really interesting ones, political threads that dive deeper into the empire and what it's trying to do. And I loved it for that, but we just didn't have enough time. There was not enough time left in this book to cover everything that had been presented to us, which ultimately left me feeling a little bit flat with all those elements not fully realised. As so much detail is given to the world building and the characters throughout this novel, it needed that attention to these little details introduced in the second half, and it just wasn't there. Pushing all that aside though, pushing it firmly aside, this is a story about Misaki. It is her journey, her narrative that we're going on, and I do feel like M.L. Wang has done an absolutely fantastic job of finishing her arc. Emotionally, where she is as a character, ready to continue on, knowing herself, knowing what she needs to do and what she's been through. Beautiful, really beautiful. I absolutely loved how we finished our journey with her and where she ended up. And that kind of is what this novel is all about. And in that regard, in the ending, in the second half of this novel, I was satisfied. But there was just other things that I was a bit like, whew, if this is a series of books, this is going to be amazing. But as it's a standalone, I don't know, I expected those things to be tied off or to not be given such emphasis. Now, I have done a little research and I have found out that this is a standalone prequel to a series of books called like the Theonite series. And I imagine maybe that some of those threads that I'm talking about that are presented in the second half of this book are covered within that series of books. And having not read that series of books, I have no idea. But my issue still stands because this is presented as a standalone fantasy book in which I feel like it should be able to cover everything it needs to. And there you go. That's my thoughts and feelings on the Swords of Kaigen. I am going to give this 4 stars out of 5. I thought it was excellent. However, does it pass my would you enjoy this if you weren't into fantasy test? Which, because on this channel I have very eclectic taste. I mean extremely eclectic taste, which to some of you might be quite annoying because it might take quite a while until I review a book you would actually be interested in reading. However, I just enjoy reading everything. Does this book pass the test of it's a fantasy book, but my god, it's so good, people who don't like fantasy would want to read it? And no, it doesn't. I still feel like with this book, as it's self-published standalone fantasy, I think you would still need to be a fantasy reader in order to really enjoy this book. But that being said, if you are a fantasy reader, then definitely pick this up. For a standalone fantasy novel that is self-published, what an achievement. Well done, M.L. Wang. Well done. Great work. So I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. Have you read The Swords of Kaigen? If so, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Also, if you could hit the old thumbs up if you like this, or subscribe, that would be great. And yeah, I'll see you all on the next one.